Testing, 1, 2, 1, 2. All right. Setup mode. Move on. Hello, mighty companions.
Hello.
How you doing today?
Good.
Good, good. Welcome to A Course in Miracles. Those of you online, watching on Facebook Live, welcome to A Course in Miracles. I'm Earl Purdy, and I'm teaching what I want to learn. I'm teaching what I need to learn. The Course in Miracles says it's best to teach what you want to learn because you can't forget what you always reminded somebody else about. Doesn't that make sense? If I'm constantly saying it to you, I have to hear it. And so I want to be really clear who is also a learner here. I'm also a learner here. If you're here for the first time, and if you are here for the first time, you're probably highly suspicious. Because that's what happens a lot of times when we're someplace for the first time. It's strange. We don't know the people around us, so we be a little bit more like, okay, let me make sure there's no Kool-Aid he's going to break out before the class is over. I just want to welcome you and share the thought that there's no accident. So if you're here for whatever reason, even if somebody drugged you, that is not an accident. And so you don't have to believe anything that I say. You don't have to accept anything from the Course in Miracles. You don't have to welcome anything from A Course in Miracles. As a matter of fact, it says some of the ideas you may actively resist. Some of the ideas you might 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 actively resist. Some of the ideas you may actively resist. Did I say some of the ideas you may actively resist? Did I say some of the ideas you may actively resist?
Yes.
Some of the ideas you may find hard to believe. Some of the ideas that you may find hard to believe. And some of the ideas you may find to be quite startling. Some of the things may startle you. You are not asked to judge and analyze the ideas, but you can if you want to, but that's not what you're being asked to do. Their use will give the ideas meaning to you, and their use will show you that the ideas are true. Their use will give the ideas meaning to you, and the use will show you that the ideas are true. You need not believe the ideas. You need not accept the ideas. You need not even welcome the ideas. Some of the ideas you will find hard to believe, and others may seem to be quite startling. You are not asked to judge and analyze the ideas at all. Their use will give the ideas meaning to you and will show you that the ideas are true. Ask yourself, what do I want to come out of this today? Take a moment to ask yourself, what do I want to come out of this today? What do I want to come out of this today? What do I want to come out of this today? What is this for? What is my purpose for being here? What do I want to happen today? What do I want to come out of this for today? We're going to be on page 334 in the Foundation for Inner Peace version of A Course in Miracles. And chapter 16, the forgiveness of illusions. Those of you online, thank you for coming online. And it's going to be on page 334, the reward of teaching. I'm going to cover the reward of teaching. I see myself as being a messenger. So we want to hear, so the Course in Miracles says, and I'm going to share this again, there are 4 steps to accepting the truth of any idea. The first step is you hear it, but you don't believe you have to believe it, which we're pretty good at. All right, first you hear it, but you don't necessarily have to agree with it or believe it. This is very important because if a person is listening and they think I'm trying to convert them and they have to believe it, then they make the erroneous assumption that their agreement has anything to do with the truth of what you're hearing. Something is not true just because I believe it, and something is not necessarily true, just untrue because I don't believe it. And so the Course says if you want to introduce a new idea that will give you peace, then the first thing is to hear it without believing. You have to believe it. The next step is to repeat it to yourself over and over again, because the things that people call their beliefs are just things that they've told themselves over and over again, or they've been told over and over again until they believe it's true. Is that not true? You know, what you're sharing with someone, most people think they're sharing with you what they think, but they're actually usually parroting something they were taught to say or to think. And they'll go, well, I believe so-and-so. Well, the truth is, if you really research a little bit, you'll see you're probably just saying something that you were told, and you have told it to yourself so much now that you think it's the truth. And the reason why you think it's the truth is because whatever you believe, you perceive. So your physical reality witnesses back to what you believe, which tempts a person to believe it must be true because I'm seeing it, but you're seeing it because you believe it. Then the Course says you repeat it over and over again, and then you start to begin to accept that it may be true with some reservations. So you start to accept some of it, and some of it you still have some reservations about. Then it says you keep on repeating it, keep on repeating it, keep on saying it, and then you finally accept that it's true. And just like everything else that you accept is true, then you start to see it in your experience, because now you're accepting it, and you're accepting it as true. Let me make sure. Put this on. So that we won't be a room full of strangers, would you introduce yourself to whoever's sitting on either side of you, that you'll say hello to them or acknowledge them in some kind of way? Online. Thank you. Love you. Share this video right now. Okay. Okay, cool. All right. Great. Makes it feel like a little bit more connected. Okay, so the first paragraph the Course in Miracles says is this. We've already learned that everyone teaches and teaches all the time. So everybody's teaching, you're teaching, I'm teaching, we're teaching all the time. The Course says to teach is to demonstrate. So everybody's demonstrating all the time. You may have taught well, but you may not have learned how to accept the comfort of your teaching. You may have been demonstrating things, but you haven't allowed yourself to find and to experience the comfort of what you've been demonstrating. And if you will consider what you taught, if you will consider how alien this new way of thinking is to what you thought you knew, you will be compelled to realize that your teacher came from beyond your thought system. So the Course in Miracles says that we'll consider what we're trying to believe right now, which is that we're the ones that are responsible for our experience. We're the one that's choosing the feelings we experience, and that what we are experiencing is what we call to ourselves and created for ourselves. We will be compelled to realize that that idea came from beyond my way of believing. So the Course in Miracles says if you would really think about what we're learning right now, it had to come beyond our thought system, beyond the way that the world teaches. And it says, therefore, the part of us that's teaching us the truth, our higher self, our divine self, our God self, the Course says, can look upon what we have been thinking and believing, it says fairly, and perceive that the way we've been taught is not true. You are not a victim of the world you see. You are not a victim of the world you see, and you're not a victim of any situation or circumstance according to the Course that you are experiencing in your life right now. So if you're looking at it from the perspective of being conscious and free and spirit, the Course says you'll see that the way we've been taught is not true. Then it says your teacher, your inner teacher, must have perceived your way of thinking from the basis of a very different thought system, and a thought system with nothing in common with yours. So your loving mind is looking at everything from the basis of a very different thought system from the way that the fearful part of your mind is looking at it. So when you look at things from a loving, truthful way, it says it doesn't have anything in common with an unloving, fearful way. So if a person is looking at things from the perspective of being a victim and afraid and separate, the world that they are looking at and thinking about has absolutely nothing in common with the part of the mind that looks at things from a loving, honest, truthful way. See, again, it's not complicated. It's not complicated. Then the Course says, for certainly what your higher self has taught you, what love has taught you, and what you have taught through love has nothing in common with what you taught before you started to let love teach you and the truth teach you. So if you are listening to the loving part of your mind, the part of your mind that knows the truth, it has nothing in common with what you might have been teaching or demonstrating before your higher self, your inner self, your loving self started to guide you. And it says, and the results have been to bring peace where there was pain. So a person who's acting from truth and love, they are experiencing more peace where there used to be pain, and their suffering has disappeared to be replaced with joy. Okay, so you can read the Course backwards and forwards and make the same amount of sense. It says that if you're really acting from the love and the truth with you, you will know it, because where there was pain, you would be having peace right now. And where there was suffering, you would be experiencing joy right now. So how can I tell if I've really changed my mind? How can I tell if I'm really looking at things from my true self, from my loving self, from my divine self? Your suffering is replaced by joy, and your pain is replaced by peace. So does that suggest if you're still in pain and suffering, then you're still using the old way of thinking? Yes. So what I love about the Course is it gets us out of denial really, really quick. How can I tell if I'm practicing the new way of thinking, I'm not suffering, and I'm not in pain? Okay, so do I beat myself up because I'm suffering and in pain? No, it's just making me aware that I'm not using a new way of thinking. I'm still using the old way of thinking that I learned from the world before I was introduced to a new way of thinking. And it also teaches me that I'm not really teaching something and demonstrating something that I can accept comfort from. I'm not telling myself something that comforts me. He says that if you have taught well, and you, like a lot of people talk this stuff, oh, I love everybody, oh my God, you know, I'm responsible, I'm the creator of my experience, but they don't give themselves the comfort of that. Because if I was really demonstrating that I'm responsible, that I'm truly loving, that I'm truly conscious, then I should be allowing myself to accept the comfort that what I'm teaching would give me. And this is alien from the way that we've been taught. So the Course in Miracles says that the truth is simple. The ego, which is the fearful part of the mind, makes everything complex. Okay, so let's make it even simpler. It says you're demonstrating, and you're demonstrating all the time. You all are demonstrating right now. You're demonstrating right now. You're demonstrating right now. And you're demonstrating all the time. There's not but two things you're demonstrating: a sense of oneness or a sense of separateness. You're either demonstrating love right now, or you're demonstrating fear. You either demonstrate joy or you're demonstrating pain. You're demonstrating you think you're innocent, or you're demonstrating you think you're guilty. Everybody's demonstrating, but they're not demonstrating but two things. Now, the way that they demonstrate the two things, love or fear, you can do that in a variety of ways. So all of us, we call that our story. Our story is the form in which we demonstrate love or fear. Our story is the way that we justify whatever it is we're going through. And everyone has a story. And it's probably quite the story. I'm sure everybody in here could have a story that would blow all of us away. But your story is either going to be true or it's going to be false. Your story is either going to reflect peace or it's going to reflect conflict. And the less responsibility a person takes for their experience, the more they see everybody else as to blame for whatever it is they're going through. So their story usually entails sharing what everybody else outside of themselves has done to hurt them or make them unhappy. Anybody familiar with that?
Yes.
Anybody familiar with that? Anybody familiar with that? So the Course says we have a teacher. You have an inner teacher. You have a spiritual teacher that's within you that has taught us from beyond the way that we think. And that way of thinking is very different from the way that we think. It has nothing in common with the way that we think. And it has nothing in common with what you did before you heard this way of thinking, But you can tell when you're using the new way of thinking, because when you're using the new way of thinking, which the Course in Miracles teaches you how to use in the workbook, Course in Miracles consists of 3 parts. The text, which is the theoretical foundation of the Course, what the point is trying to make. The workbook gives you a different exercise to practice every day for 365 days. The purpose of the workbook, the first half of the workbook, is to undo the way you see now that's causing you fear and pain. The second part of the workbook is about acquiring the new perception that you want to have peace. The challenge with many Course in Miracles students is they want to get the peace that the Course promises without doing the workbook. The challenge with many Course in Miracles students is that they want the peace and prosperity and abundance that the Course promises without reading the Course.
It's true.
The Course says you don't really want whatever you say you want if you're not willing to do what it takes to get it.
Prove it.
I'll say it again. I don't care what you say you want. If you're not willing to do what it takes to have it, the Course says you don't really want it. Because if you really want something, the attraction of it should pull you past any obstacle that you have about it. So if I really wanted the peace that the Course in Miracles is promising me, I would not stop it. I don't like the terminology it uses. If you were really, it's just like you're in a burning building and you're on the ledge and the fireman comes to get you down and you say, I'm not going to let you get me down off the ledge because I don't like the color of your jacket. That sounds stupid. That's the same as saying, I won't give myself the peace that the Course in Miracles promises me because I don't like the terminology it uses, even though it would get me out of the pain that I think I'm going through. So if you really want something bad enough, you're not going to let any obstacle stop you from having it. Agreed. If you really don't want it, you're going to come up with every reason why you can't have it. So the Course says the biggest problem with it is we don't hear it. That's why it constantly says, remember this, don't forget this. Remember what? You're demonstrating all the time. Remember what? You don't give yourself the comfort of what you're learning. Remember what? This is a way of thinking that's different from the way you think and far beyond your way of thinking. Remember what? If you really practice what's being said, you should see your pain and suffering disappear in your perception. If you don't see it happening, what does that mean? It means I'm still using the old thought system. No matter what I'm saying, I'm still using. I see people spend more time trying to justify the thought system that isn't working than focus energy on learning the new way of thinking that will free them. People are much more likely to spend time telling you why it won't work than focusing on what did you just say that would allow me to get this to happen. So what you want to do is you want to focus on the way out. Notice it said your teacher. That's another big important part of this paragraph. It says your teacher is going to teach you. So the Course in Miracles premise is each one of us are born with an inner guide, an inner spiritual guide that if we would learn how to get in touch with that voice, is guiding us every day. In our culture, we're not taught that. In our culture, we're taught to totally depend on ourselves only and what we figure out and what we come, especially if you're in a male body. If you're in a male body, you are especially educated that it's got to be the way you do it and the way you think of it, and if you don't do it that way, something is wrong. So sometimes men are especially resistant to hearing another way of looking at things that they didn't think of, because we're taught we should be in charge and we should be the one determining what happens. So sometimes men won't listen to things just because it wasn't their idea when we're in the ego. Good old hell. We've been having a lot of hell lately. So have y'all been in hell lately? Is that what's going on? Is there a little bit of a hell going on somewhere? Huh? All right. Well, that's what the symbology is. Okay. So before I go to the next paragraph, are there any questions about what the paragraph was telling us? Yes.
It's not a question, but it's
a comment. Okay, cool.
So I go to this other meeting kind of thing, and people talk about love, a loving God, and being at peace, and they want this, and there's this one gal who goes, and she always says, you really want that? Then prove it. she's talking about doing the workbook, or in my case, the steps to improve it by doing that, you know. Then the last thing I want to say is, so this morning I'm listening to the radio as I'm getting ready to come over here, and there's this song that's on. I'm shaving, and I'm like really enjoying that song. And then I'm going, who's singing that song? And I remembered who sang that song, and I went, oh no, I don't like that guy. I was taught that, and I accepted that, you know, and I internalized that. But I was enjoying the song, and it was like, wow, there it is, my conditioning, you know, that this is how I'm supposed to be.
Right.
It was like a beautiful thing.
Right. So what those of you online that was listening, he was basically saying he saw that he reacted to something in a way that he perceived as negative because of a conditioning, something you've been taught. There are people that will walk through that door and they'll see I'm in a black body and turn around and walk out before they hear one word I got to say because of the color of my skin. There's some people that walk in the door that there's a woman teaching, just because there's a woman, they turn around and they walk out. You know, just like you said, conditioning, what I learned. And then, so therefore, look at what I cut myself. What are you cutting yourself off from that could benefit you just because of what you believe? That's the question. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else?
I'm not going to cut myself off from anything.
That's right, especially singing good.
Goodness.
That's right. I'm talking about. That's right. I'm tired of I am taking 100% responsibility for my experience, but it doesn't mean I'm going to always like it. Doesn't mean that I'm going to jump up and down with joy because I'm doing that. So the next paragraph says, you may have taught freedom, but you haven't learned how to be free. You may be trying to demonstrate freedom while you haven't even learned how to be free yourself. He says, I said earlier, by their fruits ye shall know them, and they shall know themselves. For it's certain that you judge according to what you've been taught. So you're judging everything according to your teaching. So everybody's judging everybody based on what they have been taught and what they're teaching themselves. The thing about the Course in Miracles to me is that if a person stops for a minute, it just makes sense. I'm going to judge you according to what I've been taught, right? Just like you said, you were taught that you shouldn't like that guy. So even though you like the music, you know, you were willing to change your mind about it because of what you had been taught, right? So a member of society is somebody who has been taught so well what they should believe and what they should value that now they come to those conclusions without somebody telling them to do it. So from the time you were born, everybody is ceaselessly describing to you what you should value, what's real, and what's important. And when you get to the point that you have those values, then you are an acceptable member of society. If you're a person that says, I don't want those values, then you're looked at as the rebel and the person that's hard to get along with and the person that's the problem. Right? Because you're not going to, like, as a child, I could not go along with the religious beliefs that I was being taught. It didn't make sense to me what I was being taught in fundamental religion, to me, right? But that also produces a little challenge from the people around you who do believe that, right? So I'm going to judge according to what I've been taught. So the Course in Miracles says the ego's teaching produces immediate results. Now the ego is the part of us that's been programmed by the world that believes what the world believes, the part of the mind, he says, that's fearful, that gets angry, that projects, and that blames. That there's a part of our mind that does that. So why is it that the fearful stuff seems to get immediate results? Why is it that it looks like the things that we get upset about or we fear tend to happen really, really quick? He says, because its decisions are immediately accepted as your choice. You know, if a part of mine tells me that nothing goes right for me, and then I agree with that, I get an immediate result. So every time I tell myself something that I accept, then I give myself an immediate result. And most of us have been taught to believe what the world teaches us, so we immediately get the results of the ego quicker than it looks like we get the results of love. You know, if I'm in a fearful state of mind and I'm in a fearful world and I'm being taught I'm separate and I should be suspicious, then if I believe I can't trust people, it'll look like something manifests to witness that that's true to me quicker than if I hear everybody's full of love and light. Because I'm going to accept the fearful perception and I get the immediate result. But if I say we should love each other and we should trust each other, we go, oh. So I don't give myself the immediate result of that because I'm not accepting that as true.
That's
Awesome.
That's why it looks like the negative stuff manifests quicker than the positive stuff. Most people are negative than they are positive. So therefore they see the negative faster. But if you say you're an unlimited being, if you say that you are creator of your experience, if you say here that you are totally innocent and totally lovable and totally loved, that you are supported, that you are not alone, that there are beings out here that you could trust and connect with at a level beyond your wildest imagination, if you are a fearful person, that's going to bring up suspicion, so you're not going to see it as fast because you haven't accepted that it's true. But if you hear, you got to watch out for people. They'll deceive you. They'll let you down. Then you go, oh, that's where people are. Boom. Now you meet some people that appear to do that. Whatever you accept, you get an immediate result. Whatever you doubt, you kind of block that. That's the same statement. Then it says, cause and effect are very clear in the fearful mind's thought system because all your learning has been directed toward establishing the relationship between cause and effect. Even in our fearful separated world, the Course says we've all learned that you reap what you sow, that for every cause there's an effect. Most people agree with that. But the Course also says, and wouldn't you not have faith in something you taught yourself to believe? So if I've taught myself to believe that there's cause and effect, if I've taught myself to believe that I'm separate, if I've taught myself to believe I can't trust, if I've taught myself to believe that things don't go right for me, if I taught myself to believe that I have to be lonely, the Course says, well, why wouldn't you have faith in what you so diligently taught yourself to believe? Of course you have faith in what you diligently taught yourself to believe. So that makes perfect sense. And then the last sentence says, and remember what? And remember what? And remember what? How much care you have exerted in choosing the witnesses to what you believe. We carefully choose the people in situations that validate, I believe I can't trust you, right? So if I say to myself, I can't trust a guy in a white body, okay, then you could be the nicest guy in the white body in the world, and I'm not going to focus on you. I'm going to focus on the claim. You know, I'm going to focus on what's going to validate and witness to what I have so diligently taught myself to believe. So what you all are seeing all day long, every day, 7 days a week, are the witnesses to what you're choosing to believe. That's what we're all doing. You are sitting here as witnesses to what I taught myself diligently to believe. That's why you came to a Course in Miracles class unless you were dragged. But other than that, you're here because you are actually diligently witnessing to what I'm believing. Because I'm on the lookout for what's going to witness to love, what's going to witness to who wants to go beyond the way that the world has been thinking, who wants to go beyond fear. So I attract people in my life who want to go beyond fear, who want to go beyond separation. That's what I'm diligently teaching myself to believe in, so I have witnesses in my world that reflect that back to me. And whatever is witnessing back to you, would that be also what you taught yourself so diligently to believe? Yeah. So do you want to be right or do you want to be happy is always the question. And if you think you've heard this 1,000 times and your life is the same, you need to give it to yourself a couple of thousand times more. It means you haven't given it to yourself enough. That's all it means. Because think about it. How are you going to overcome a lifetime's worth of programming in just saying a few words of truth to yourself every now and then?
You can't.
You can't. But you see that all the time. It's like we'll reinforce the fearful thought system over and over again, but we'll try to say a statement from the Course and think it should turn our life completely around 100% if I half-heartedly say it once or twice. Yeah. And you know what's the truth? The truth is so powerful. It has so much support from God, the universe, and truth that actually you would be amazed at the difference it would make in your life if you said the truth 1/10 the amount of time that you tell yourself stuff that's upset you and keeps you afraid. The truth is powerful because when you practice the truth, you got the universe behind that. You got love behind that. But you have to make yourself miserable by yourself or join with some other people that want to be miserable and y'all be miserable together. And then sometimes people call that a relationship. So I don't want to suffer by myself. Okay, so I don't want to suffer by myself. So I want to do it with you. You want to do it with me? Okay, let's be together. So, and then some people, I don't want to suffer anymore. Would you like to not suffer together? Would you like to go beyond suffering together? Would you like to see it another way together? That's what the Course will call a holy relationship. It's a relationship that you're using to go beyond the suffering and pain. But you can't go beyond suffering and pain if you're not taking responsibility for what you feel in the relationship. So I wanted to finish the paragraph. And what was the main point before we do the question? You judge yourself according to your teaching. The reason why you get the results of what your ego tells you is because you go into agreement with the fearful part of your mind really, really quickly. And everything that you've been learning has been trying to teach you the relationship between cause and effect. And it says, also remember how much care you have exerted in focusing on who witnesses and what witnesses to what you believe, and how much you don't focus on what doesn't witness to what you believe. Very clear, precise statements about what's going on. Now, question, comment about that paragraph. Yes, my dear.
The key to the whole thing,
In your perception is,
in my perception,
thank you. Okay.
me as well as you all can agree or disagree, is being present in the moment. If you are present in the moment, you give yourself a choice to make whichever decision you want, instead of going along with your automatic programming that we've been raised the whole time. If you're present in the moment, you have a choice to either go along or you can change your thought process. To me, that's what it's all about.
And that's exactly what I just said. So thank you for going into agreement with exactly what it just told us.
Yeah.
Yes, darling.
You know, I really like that it's saying that even if I want to create a world of misery, I still have like this power of creation.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, my perception allows me to create whatever kind of world I want to see.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can even use the idea of the fact that my ego does cause and effect to change the way I think by realizing I am the cause and the world I see is my effect.
Thank you.
And then it makes it I like that it makes it so simple as, what does your world look like? Okay, that's what you value. Okay, that's what you're putting your time into. That's what you're putting your energy into. The fruits of your labor are the labor that you're conducting. So if you don't like the fruits, like it's time to change.
Like you said, by their fruits you shall know them,
Yeah.
and they shall know themselves. So notice how many times Spirit is trying to say the same thing to us in ways we make. You said it, the same thing. I said the same thing, and you said the same thing. We just said it in different ways, so that hopefully one way that the truth comes to us would be a way that we would go, aha, I'm going to do it differently. Mm-hmm. And that's all the truth does. It just keeps coming at us every way possible, through everybody possible, until one day we go, I've reached my limit, I'm going to do it another way. That's all that's happening. And I pray that people find it in the way that moves them. Fortunately for me, the Course in Miracles got me off my butt, and then it made me actually want to practice this. Okay. Now, I hope you find the teaching that will get you off your butt and make you want to practice something. It may not be a Course in Miracles. It very much may. So I'm not saying a Course in Miracles is the only way, like people used to tell me the Bible is the only way. You know, because if you wait for everybody to believe in the same form all over the world, it ain't never going to happen. You will never get everyone in the world to believe a particular form of the truth, whether it's the Course, whether it's the Bible, whether it's anything you can think of. Think about how hard it is to get you to change your mind. Like if I wanted to change his mind about what he believes and he didn't want to change his mind, think about how much time that would take. So if it took me talking to you and you talking to me and me changing the way you think to get you for the world to heal, we just well hang it up. It ain't happening. It ain't happening that way. But if I'm used to reach the people who want to hear it through me and it works for them, then I work with them. Now I'm moving forward. And then I'm trusting that everybody else that's in something else and want to do it another way, that's the right way for them. And I don't condemn and judge them for doing that. The only thing that makes the difference is, do I want peace or do I want conflict? Because if you want peace, then peace will come to you in the form that you can accept it in. If you want conflict, you'll constantly be trying to have peace through things that don't give you any. So you'll be a person that's trying to have peace through, let's say for you the Bible doesn't work, but you've decided you're going to use the Bible. And you're fighting it every step of the way because it's not really the path you want to use. Well, then that's slowing yourself down. If it's the path you want to use, Spirit will reach you through that path. And you still get the same truth as a person studying the Course in Miracles. My sister is very much in a very basic, kind of fundamentalist type Christian. But she and I have conversations, and you would swear she studied the Course in Miracles, and you would swear I was studying the Bible in terms of how many ways we agree on what we're both realizing through what we're teaching. Why? Number one, because we both sincerely want the truth, and we both sincerely want peace, and we both sincerely want to be loving. So since that's our goal, no matter what we're learning, that's the way we approach it. So we're tolerant with each other, and we're open with each other, and we can talk about things with each other because we want to join. We want peace between us. See, the difference is, do you want peace or do you want conflict? If you want peace, then God can reach you through anything to make you aware. If you're a person that wants to go through hell and conflict all the time, he says there is no answer that's going to be acceptable. There's nothing anybody's going to say that you're going to go, okay, that works for me. Right. So do I spend all my time trying to convince the person that is trying to resist me every step of the way? Or am I more open to those who want to join me in a common purpose and a common goal? Follow the path with heart. Follow your path of heart. Follow what inspires you. Go in the direction of the love and peace that inspires you. To be inspired is to be in spirit. Anybody else before I go to the next paragraph? Yes, darling.
I just think it's very profound, you judge yourself according to your thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And just how our thoughts do become our beliefs. And then you're judging that, and it's basically just judging yourself. And it's just this circle of conflict. And where did it all come from?
From what we were taught.
You know? And when you realize that, you're just like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I just can...
Yeah, because the one thing you can do, you can affect that. See, I can't change you all's mind, but I can change mine. So I'm going to put my energy where it can work. You know, even if it's something that's upsetting me. That's right. CJ.
So Kim shares her perspective, a very empowering statement. She says, I'm responsible for the world I created, but I'm not the victim of it.
That's the exact same thing. I'm responsible means I'm not the victim of it. That's the truth. That's the truth. But it's so much easier just to blame my daddy. It's just so much easier for me to blame my daddy. Everybody know everything I go through with my daddy. I haven't had if I don't have a date in 6 months, it's because of my daddy. It's what my daddy did to me. Everybody know I dropped on my head when I was 3 years old and have never been able to have an orgasm. That's what happened. That's what happened. Yeah. That was what happened. That's what messed me up, y'all. That's what we do. That's what we do. It's always our childhood. It's always our childhood. And I'm not saying that it did not have a role to play in what I think, because it did. But the purpose of getting into the truth is that you realize whatever you went through brought you to the point that you're at right now. And the point you're at right now is where you are awake enough to know you have a choice about what you believe, and through choosing what you're going to believe is going to determine how you feel. Don't matter how you got here. Right now, you have an opportunity to look at it differently, and you have a curriculum that teaches you how to do that. So there is really no excuse. Not really. I know people would like to believe it is, but actually it's not. It's not really an excuse anymore.
And the blame game can stop.
The blame, and don't blame yourself either. The blame game it's not about blaming you either. Okay? It's not. You're innocent. You're cute and you're innocent. And you get no, you are. You did the cutest little things in the world. You the cutest little things. You are. You know, and don't lose your sense of humor. You know, it's like people get on a spiritual path and they lose their sense of humor and they can't play anymore and they can't laugh anymore and it's got to be serious all the time. You know, be sincere, not serious. Be sincere about your path, but, you know, people need to see some smiles in this world. They need to see some. Don't you be another sad, unfriendly face. They're not rare. You know, kind of stand out a little bit, you know. Now, right now, do you have a look on your face that would make anybody want to walk up to you and talk to you? That's a legitimate question. I don't know anything about you. If I don't know you, I'm just looking at the outer. If you're a sourpuss, am I inclined to want to walk up to you and go, hey, what's your name? What's happening with you? So it's amazing to me how we can have the most unfriendly faces and then wonder why people don't approach us or don't try to connect with us. You know, be amazed at what a smile would do. It's a trip how many smiles I get a day because of these glasses. You would be freaked out if you saw how many people smiled at me and talked to me just because. Why? Because it's an outer appearance. So the minute they see it, they judge, well, you know, either he's really weird or he might be cool. You know what I'm saying? But it's kind of telegraphing what I want to see and be in the world. And so people feel more open to talk to me immediately. But if I'm like this, I'm not going to be the first person that people want to walk up to and say something to. So sometimes when it looks like people aren't being friendly and extending to you, just take a quick, hit that mirror replacement on your phone without changing the expression on your face, and then you'll get shocked maybe sometimes at what you look like. That you're not projecting at all the image outward that you think you are in your mind. It's really deep. The book, people do judge a book by its cover a lot. You might be the nicest person in the world, but if you look like, the son of Sam or somebody that's serial killer, might as well want to jump up and go out with you. So what is this saying right quick? It's saying, what was the instructions we got at the very beginning? Oh man, let's go to the islands, man. You're ready to have the truth on the islands, man. All right, man, this is the way it goes, man. Accept the comfort of your teaching. Accept the comfort. Accept the comfort of your teaching. Accept the comfort. Consider what you have taught. Consider what you have demonstrated. Consider what you have taught. Consider what you have demonstrated. Consider how alien the way that we think right now is from the way that we used to think. Consider how alien the way that you think now is different from the way that you were taught. Think about how alien what you learn now is from what you were taught. Realize that you have an inner teacher, and that inner teacher is from far beyond your belief system. I want you to let your higher self look on your belief system and call it untrue. You may have not taught freedom, but you may have taught freedom. You may have taught freedom, but you have not learned how to be free. You judge yourself according to your teaching. You judge yourself according to your teaching. You judge yourself according to your teaching. You judge yourself according to what you've learned. Then it says, remember, 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 remember how much care you have exerted in choosing the witness as to what you believe. I'll say it again. Remember how much care you have exerted in choosing the witnesses to what you believe, and in avoiding those witnesses which speak for the cause of truth and its effects. I'm willing to have the witnesses to truth in my life. I'm willing to have the witnesses to truth in my life. I'm willing to have the witnesses to truth in my life. I'm willing to see the witnesses to truth and love in my life. Call it to yourself. Just as much as we'll say what we don't like, we could say what we do like. People will tell you what they're upset about quicker than they'll tell you what they appreciate you about. So just as the Course says, happiness that you don't express, you forget. If I don't express how much I appreciate you, or how much joy you bring in my life to me, then I'll forget it. And if all I talk about is what I don't like about you and what I'm upset about, and that's all I talk about, that's what's going to seem like that's all you about for me. So people are much more likely to share with you what they're upset with you about than what they appreciate you about. So to them, it looks like you're just somebody that upsets them all the time. Where if you were expressing your appreciation more to each other, then you would see that person as more of a blessing in your life. So are you very verbal about what you don't like, but very non-verbal about what you like? Then you'll forget what you like. It'll look like it's not there. Deep stuff. Deep stuff. Deep stuff. Doesn't the fact that you haven't learned what you taught show you that you don't see the sonship as one? And doesn't it also show you that you don't regard yourself as one? It's impossible to teach successfully totally without conviction. You're not going to teach and demonstrate anything successfully totally without conviction. I teach this, as much as I teach this, with the inspiration I teach it, because of conviction. The conviction came from the experiences that I've gotten from practicing it. So you can't demonstrate something that you don't have conviction about. You can say that you're demonstrating love, but if you don't have any conviction about it, you're not going to be totally successful in demonstrating it. And also I want to say to all of you all, I know every single thing that I say, there's another way of looking at it. So I'm not sitting up here saying The way that I'm looking at it and the way that I'm sharing with you is the only way to look at anything. As a matter of fact, with human beings, you can count on people having another way they want to look at what you're talking about. So I want you to know, I know that everything I'm saying, there's another way you can look at it. Fair enough? All right, I get that. So I'm not saying this is the only way to look at it, okay? But ask yourself this. The way that I'm looking at it, is it making me feel good or is it making me feel bad? If the way that I'm looking at it sucks, I need to get another way of looking at it because it's not giving me any peace. So what I want to defend, the way of looking at things, is not giving me any peace. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. At least I can decide. I don't like the way I feel, and I hope I'm wrong, so I want another way of looking at it. That's what the Course says you should say to yourself when you don't like something. Say, at least I can decide I don't like the way I feel. At least I can decide I do not like the way that I feel, and so I hope that I am wrong. And so I want another way to look at it. That's what you do when you're upset. I don't like the way I feel, so I hope I'm wrong about it, and I want another way to look at it. That's just one of the gazillion ways the Course says you can get past blocks. Then it also says to us that, how many of you all, what I'm sharing with you right now, this is the first time you ever heard it from the Course? Please raise your hand. So all of you have heard exactly the paragraph that I'm sharing right now. You have read that paragraph, everybody in the room. Okay. That's all. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Reading it is one thing, experiencing it, like right now, is another thing.
Well, most people haven't read it, let alone get into the experience. So that's why I keep saying the first step is hearing it. Another thing is, even if you read it, the next question would be, do you remember reading it? See, I tell people who tell me they've read, I've met people say, the Course in Miracles, I did that last summer. And I go, well, actually the first time you read the Course in Miracles is basically to prepare you to read the Course in Miracles. Because it usually takes the first time just to get enough of your resistance out of the way to even begin to hear what it's saying. So the reason why I'm saying is not to pick on you. I'm just saying that if you're unhappy in any area of your life, that's why. Because you're not giving yourself the new thought system, and it's not something you can make up as you go along. You actually need to learn the curriculum and hear the curriculum and apply the curriculum. So it's telling us right here that it's impossible to teach successfully totally without conviction, and it's equally impossible that conviction be outside of you. You could never have taught freedom unless you did believe in it, and it must be that what you taught came from yourself. I'll say this again, because this is very deep. He says, you could never have taught freedom unless you did believe in it. So you're teaching it because you believe in it. There's a part of me that is teaching freedom because there's a part of me that believes in it. It's just like telling you whatever it is you aspire to be, you are aspiring to be it because there's a part of you that already believes you are it. I'm trying to be a more loving person because there's a part of me that believes I am a loving person. If I didn't really believe I was a loving person, I wouldn't try to be a loving person. So what a person wants to be is what they already think they are. So if I want to be free, then there's a part of me that already believes I am free. So the truth is, you could never have taught freedom or whatever you're teaching unless you did believe in it. And it must be that what you taught came from yourself because you're the one that's ultimately teaching yourself. Yet this self that really believes in freedom, that really teaches love, that really teaches happiness, that self, he says, you clearly don't know. And you don't even recognize it even though it functions. There's a part of you that absolutely loves you and knows what love is. And the Course is saying that part of you is teaching you right now, but you clearly don't know that part of you. And he says, and you don't recognize that greater self that you have, even though it functions. So there is a part of you that loves you, that is functioning. It's functioning because it's what's inspiring you to want to teach love. And it's inspiring you to want to be free, and it's inspiring you to want to be happy. So it says right here, but you clearly don't know that self, and you don't recognize that self, even though it functions, but what functions must be there. So it is only if you deny what yourself has done that you could possibly deny the presence of yourself. In other words, if I deny what love and life and my Creator has done, then I'm going to deny the presence of my Creator in my life. Until I start acknowledging what my Creator is doing for me, I will not be aware of the presence of my Creator. If I'm not willing to acknowledge what love, okay, so much for all kinds of resistance. Okay, it's okay. That's all right. I'm still live, and hopefully it'll come back on in a minute. If I keep denying, the power just went off in case I turned extra black. Okay, I just want y'all to know I've gone to 3 shades darker chocolate, so I just want y'all to know I'm still, if you just zoom in on my eyes and my teeth, okay, and you'll be able to keep up with me. Okay, now.
And the beard.
And the beard. Don't forget the beard. Don't forget the beard. Oh my goodness. I love the Course in Miracles. It's so true. It talks about all the different things that a part of us is going to do to try to keep us from hearing the truth. You know? And so I don't care. I'm going to still keep trying to do it no matter what. So I'll say it again. You got a part of you that's functioning inside of you. That part of you that's truly loving and truly powerful is the part that's got you want to study and has got you wanting to be here in the first place. And it says, but if you deny that there's a part of you that's loving, if you deny that there's a part of you that wants to teach freedom and be free, he says, then you won't be aware of its presence within you. So you need to acknowledge the part of you that loves you enough to bring you here in the first place. I need to acknowledge the part of me that wants love, that wants to be peaceful, that wants to take responsibility, because the more I acknowledge it, the more I can be aware of the presence of God, the presence of love. If I acknowledge it, then I'll see it. The Course teaches that everything is an idea. Everything is an idea. You cannot name one thing in this room that didn't originate in an idea. Nothing. There's nothing you can point to me in this room that did not originate from an idea. The Course in Miracles says something extraordinarily radical. It says you are an idea. That you originated from an idea. That you are an idea. And so you are an idea in the mind of God. You're an idea in the mind of love. And it says the more you share an idea, the stronger an idea becomes. So if I don't share the idea of truth, share the idea of love, share the idea of freedom, share the idea of being responsible, share the idea of abundance, then that idea will be weak in me. Whatever ideas I share the most, those are the ideas that are going to be the strongest. If I say to you, here's my idea that we all go to a movie, and then everybody in here shares that idea. Did that idea just become stronger? Yes. And did I lose that idea by sharing it? No. So you can share an idea and never lose it. And that's what the Course means when it says whatever is real, you can share it and you'll never lose what's real. Because if I share it, there's more of it. So I still got the idea of going to a movie, but now 20 other people have the idea too. So the Course says you should share the idea of God. You should share the idea of love. You should share the idea of innocence. You should share the idea of responsibility. You should share the idea that you are a creator and that we are all joined. If we don't share these ideas do not become strong. And when these ideas become strong, they become the world we live in. Well, what's everybody sharing so much easier in the world today? Separation, what they're upset about, who they're mad at. I've never seen as much divisiveness in my mind as I'm seeing projected out in the world right now. So we're sharing words of division and then wondering why we're so divided. And it's always the other person's fault. And if the other person changed, then I'd be happy. So we know that if the Democrats change, we'd be happy. We know if the Republicans change, we'd be happy. If the independents change, we'd be happy. It's the ego always tells us, if something outside of myself changed, then I'll be happy. If somebody outside of myself changed, then I would be happy. So every time you say that to yourself, you're decreasing your power. You're decreasing your joy. You're decreasing having everything you want. So what is the average person doing? The average person is looking for the person that's going to make them happy. They're looking for the situation out there that's going to make them happy. They're looking for the in other words, the Course says we use our mind to come up with everything and everybody that needs to change except our mind. So I'm using my mind to come up with everything and everybody that needs to change except me. He says that's how we use our mind. to come up with who else needs to change. Would you see if that light will come on? Because it might have just wanted to see if we're still in the dark. Okay.
It's the street.
Everything is off. Okay. All right. So now what I just said, does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so if it really makes sense, at any level, then you've just been told in less than an hour, you've been told exactly how to solve every single thing that you think is wrong in your life. I think that's a good deal for any class. I think you got more than the money you haven't given's worth. Okay, I'll say it again. So why aren't we ecstatic with joy at the thought that we have the answer that can relieve us of our suffering? Would anybody care to share why that doesn't seem to be the best news?
Because it's been ingrained in them to look at the negativity and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and to blame others for every situation
Mhm.
we're in,
Mhm.
instead of accepting the truth that God is love. We can change our mind by changing our thought process, and people don't want to look at another way of looking at things.
Thank you. All right, I'm throwing this open.
I don't want it.
Say it, would you elaborate on that? You don't want what?
If I'm not jumping up and down with joy about something that I hear that frees me, then the reality is I don't want it yet. Because if I really wanted it, if I wanted that new car and I got that new car, I'd be excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I really wanted freedom, if I really wanted awakening, and you gave me the answer, I'd be kissing your feet. If I really
I got pretty
wanted it.
feet.
You have pretty feet. I'd go kiss your feet if I really wanted
If
it.
you really wanted it. Thank you. Anybody else? Why do you think we don't jump up and down when we hear the solution to everything that we say is bothering
Because
us?
there's a payoff to our suffering.
Say that again?
Because there's a payoff to our suffering.
Would you say that again?
Payoff to our suffering!
There's a payoff in the way that I already am that I'm not ready to give up yet.
I have an idol that I don't want to release.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah. I don't feel I deserve it. And by showing joy goes against what I believe about myself.
Yeah, I don't believe I deserve it. That's beautiful, Peter. The Course in Miracles says it's not. He says it's not that what I'm telling you to do is hard. It says you don't believe you're worth the consistent effort. That's why you want somebody else to do it. See, I want somebody else to make me happy because I don't want to put in the effort it would take to change my mind so that I can be happy. And that's the longing that you see for people looking for their soulmate. All they're saying is I'm looking for somebody to make me happy and be responsible for everything that I'm going through. You know, when you're by yourself and you don't have one, there's nobody to blame. The interesting thing that happens when people get in relationships is that that person serves the role of being the one that they can blame now. Where at first they'd have to say it's me. If it's just me, I have to say it's me. But if it's me and you, God, it's convenient to say it's you. It's really, really convenient to say it's you. So that's a big reason why people love relationships. It takes the responsibility off themselves for what they're going through, and they get a chance to put it on somebody else. So we heard the last thing the ego wants to hear is, oh, you mean I'm the one that's responsible for what I'm feeling and doing? Oh my God, I'm not going to get excited about that because I haven't been too successful in making myself happy so far. And the Course takes it a step further and goes, hey, but I'm not asking, at another level, I'm not even asking you to make yourself happy. I'm asking you to get out of the way so that which loves you could make you happy. Because you suck at doing it. So why don't you just admit you haven't been that successful at pulling it off so that something greater than you can show you the way to do it? You get your hand up too?
Yeah, I was going to say kind of in regards to like the relationship thing, I can tell I don't want it if I still want it, when I still want to give and receive guilt.
That's another way you can tell quick is how much you're putting guilt on yourself and putting guilt on everybody else.
Well, and then also, I can tell how much personal responsibility I'm taking for myself by how much responsibility I allow others to have for them. So if I'm making myself responsible for anyone else's happiness or their joy or their peace, or I think that my actions or inactions are going to be the effect of how they feel, then that's the exact level to which I'm still not taking accountability for myself.
Thank you. It's not just what you're saying. It's not just how much you're willing to take responsibility for your own happiness. It's also how much you're not taking responsibility for everybody else's and realizing they're also responsible for theirs also.
I'm not their God, and I need a God. I need to remember this.
I'm not their God, but I need a God. I know that's right. That's great. That's great.
I would say for me, just in general, having never heard or tried any of this, if I don't have experience with it actually being a solution, how can I trust it?
Right, because until I actually practice it, how do I know that it's true?
It
right.
sounds like a nice
right.
idea, but if
Yeah.
I don't have experience with it actually working, it's still just a theory. It's not replicable.
Thank you. Exactly.
Thoughts of it.
And remember, my question was, why didn't you jump up and down? It didn't have anything like it was. In other words, that was a question with no wrong answer. It was just why in your own mind would that not be something that would generate some level of enthusiasm? The idea that I could get out of whatever situation that's causing me pain.
I might not want to believe it.
Which was beautifully said, you don't have to, which I like about it. It says, that came out of the book, I didn't make that up. It says you don't have to believe it, but if you use it, but if you tried, you'll see it. And so that's why I think this is such a great teaching, because I don't have to believe it to start to use the ideas and see it. Because think about this. Let's say everything that I've said is a bunch of crock. Okay, let's just say everything I've said is just BS. Okay, tell me how you would lose by following what I said. Saying that you need to change the way you think, that you deserve love, that you have a part of you that really is there for you, that wants to guide you. There ain't nothing about that wouldn't be cool to use and be true, even if it wasn't true. You're not going to hurt yourself by saying, I'm taking responsibility for my experience in my life. How are you going to lose from that? Even if this is crap, how would you lose from this crap? You know, saying that seeing yourself as innocent as opposed to seeing yourself as guilty and sinful and bad. Okay, how is that going to hurt you? See, so even if it's not true, still take a minute to go, well, objectively go, okay, let me see what I'm being told right here. I'm not alone. I tend to get help. I am loved. I am what I'm trying to be. There's a part of me that's really cool and loving. How is that a horrible thing? How is that you getting a snow job? Okay, tell me how I'm giving you a snow job when I say stuff like that. You deserve love. You deserve support. You deserve to be free. You should follow the path that you think is best that works for you. These are all things I've said today. How is that negative? How is that harmful?
It's not. It's just against every single thing we've ever heard.
Which is what it said. That what? The new thought system was going to be what? Completely alien to what you've already been taught. Which means what you're being taught is coming from outside of the belief system that you are using. But isn't that what we need? We need something that's outside of the belief system that we've made that's causing us suffering. And it's very symbolic that we're in the dark hearing this. I mean, that is no accident that we're sitting in the dark being exposed to what it would be called the light. I mean, that's no accident.
Yeah, I think part of the problem is, too, that usually when you hear people say these wonderful things about you, or maybe that's my negative thinking, they have an ulterior motive.
Well, that's what I'm right.
That is
right.
to seduce you into believing something that's true about you, so you'll want to believe it, and then it's used. You know, and I think too much of the way the world is today is reversing that. You know.
Well, again, it's right back to.
That's what I run into because that's what I.
Well, it's exactly like you said. Would you not believe what you taught yourself
Right.
so diligently to believe? Like it says, you're going to see the witnesses to that. But I don't care. Look, if you don't like me and you want to feed me and you faking like you want to feed me, even though you don't like me, I don't care if you feed me. I don't give a hoot whether you liking me or not. If I'm hungry and I'm not going to go, well, he's offering me food, but he might be trying to fool me. He might have an ulterior motive. It's like, no, if you are faking, I'm still eating. Okay, so it's not about how much I'm trying to interpret the motivation of everybody around me. If I know what I want and if I know what I'm going to do and the direction that I'm going to take, and if I'm taking responsibility, then that's also a solved that problem. If I'm taking responsibility for taking that person up on their offer, still I wouldn't have anything to be mad at that person about. You know, so again, that wasn't a wrong answer. You were just sharing the things that come up for you.
You know, if I look at the manifestations of what my fearful thinking produces,
Mm-hmm.
I want another way to look at things.
Thank you. Yeah, if I would be honest about the result of my own thinking, I would go, I want another way of looking at things. You know, you don't want to be right about being miserable. You know, if I'm thinking something and it's not giving me any of the results I want, I don't want to be right. I'm broke. Nothing's ever going to, I can never have prosperity and abundance. Why would I want to be right about that? Wouldn't it be better if I was wrong about that? Wouldn't it be better if my perception was incorrect? And that's the hardest thing to get unhappy people to do, to want to be happy more than they want to be right. Because they spend all their time justifying the condition that they're in many times. Rather than going, you know what? I don't want to be right that I have to be lonely. I don't want to be right that my life can never be fulfilling for me. Why would I want to be right about that? Because we were told, if you go into agreement, you manifest it immediately. Because truth comes from joining, manifestation comes from joining with an idea and accepting that idea completely.
As I go down this journey, what I'm starting to realize is that, yes, it's a self-fulfilling process, self-fulfilling prophecy, right? What I told myself. As I start to change, then you start that growth. But what I'm starting to see is that partial acceptance is not acceptance. I will still say, here I will be free, here I will be free, here I will be free, maybe not here. And so it's a point now of I'm okay here as well as here. So that's what I'm seeing, is that I'm still telling myself in certain places.
Yeah.
You're limiting.
Well, that's what the Course says, that you don't have complete faith until you are applying your faith to every situation,
right,
and not just some situations. But we should also acknowledge ourselves for any improvement that we're making. So in other words, if you right now you're doing it better than you did 6 months ago, you know, that's beautiful. Acknowledge that, even as you're being honest with yourself about knowing you're not in that complete place yet. Okay, because you all are full of love. You're juicy, you're sweet, you're powerful, and the only thing that makes you think otherwise is something that you're telling yourself or something that you've been taught. And it's time for you to see the witnesses to the loving self you are. All right? Yeah.
Just really quickly, I think for some of you that haven't read this, I don't know if this is chapter 30, but chapter 30 talks about this and gives you those specific steps. Like, I want another way of looking at it.
It's called The New Beginning.
Yeah, The New Beginning,
in chapter 30. Okay, it gives you that series of things to tell yourself.
Steps.
Thank you for saying it.
Yes,
because today's lesson was in chapter 16, section 3, the reward of teaching. So, if you don't mind doing it for yourself, would you acknowledge yourself for being open-minded and to come into the world? Yeah. Hey, yes, I want to acknowledge you because there are a lot of brothers and sisters that wouldn't even allow themselves to even hear that much of what was being said. So I want to totally acknowledge that you already believe you are the beautiful, powerful, loving being that we're trying to learn to be. You already believe you are. And you want those people in your life that realize that about you, even when you don't. That's what the Course calls the definition of a savior. It's somebody that sees you beyond the limited perception you may have of yourself. And they don't let you forget it. Okay? And that's what you deserve. So we're going to do the financial expression of appreciation right now. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. It allows us to still be here. And also, I'm a full-time teacher, and I appreciate you all's willingness to share and not see it as something that you resent doing because you believe that you also receive something of value too, because you all are awesome. Those of you online, if you'd like to make a financial expression of appreciation, just go to my website, earlpurdy.com, and you would be able to do that. And I'm available to work with you on a one-on-one session called a clarity session, where we get more deeper into how you can apply this in your day-to-day experience. And for those who are open to it, and I emphasize open to it, I've also been an astrologer and a numerologist for almost 40 years also. And for people who are open to intuitive insight, then that's also available. But it's not a condition of a session. But the Course teaches that whatever your talents are, whatever you've learned can be used by the universe and can be used by spirit for the awakening of yourself and for the love of yourself and others. So that means that to be on your spiritual path, you don't have to walk away from everything in your life. It doesn't mean you have to quit your job. It doesn't mean you have to leave your relationship. It doesn't mean you have to make any changes in your external situation unless you choose to, or unless you've made an unconscious decision that you are ready to change and your ego is still trying to battle it. And then it'll look like changes are happening that you didn't expect to happen. That's still a result of a subconscious decision on your part to move towards your happiness. Because you can be so stuck that it's not until something happens on the external that you'll do something different. And that's the average person. They tend to need something to happen on the outer before they'll really get sincere about changing. And what the Course is doing is it's allowing us to just make that choice so that we don't have to go through the drama to make the change. And some of you all, I'm sure, are tired of the drama for the change.
Readiness is not mastery.
Readiness is not mastery. That's right, Renee. Readiness, don't forget that. I'll say it again. You might need to put it on the wall somewhere. Readiness is not mastery. Just because I say I'm ready to fly a plane doesn't mean I've mastered flying the plane, so don't get in the plane with me. Okay? Readiness, just because I say I'm ready to be more loving, I'm ready to be more conscious, it doesn't mean I'm going to do it right all the time or that I've mastered it all the time. So give yourself a break. Stop being so hard on yourself while you're learning. You know, enjoy the journey. Don't get so caught up on the destination that you don't enjoy the ride. You know, sometimes we do that. We're so focused in on the destination that we won't enjoy the trip. You know, and you all are a trip. You know your trip. Those of you online, you know your trip. So just go to my website. It explains all of the services that I offer. Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. On Facebook Live, I do a class called The Way of Mastery. On Thursdays, I do a class called The Hardcore Course in Miracles. That at 7 p.m. Mountain Time is geared toward people who are studying the Course. And then, of course, on Sunday, we have our regular Course in Miracles class. You don't have to be a member of Facebook to watch the live broadcast. You go to this particular location on your web browser. You go to www.facebook.com/Earl Purdy Live. So if you want to get other people to check out the live broadcast who aren't on Facebook, give them this link. www.facebook.com/Earl Purdy Live. And they can watch it and also tune into it. Also, there are hundreds and hundreds of videos that I have online that are available for people to watch and listen to, as well as audio on my website. Because we were told it is what? Repetition, 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 hearing it, hearing it, hearing it. In other words, you learn the way that you think now because of repetition. Then if you want a new way of thinking, you're going to have to hear it and repeat it to yourself also. But it won't take as long. Because when you're practicing the truth, you have more backup. Okay? So I'm going to finish on this thought. Do you want to be right, or do you want to be happy? And that's what we're going to do. So thank you all, students of darkness. In the dark, students in the dark. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for narrating, CJ. I appreciate that so much. You all are awesome. Hugs are available, and the lab is waiting.
The lab is waiting.
Thanks for sticking around.
Can I just ask this reason why I have well, it's on my mind. When you're talking about why aren't we all just jumping up and down? Because really, it's like, we have the keys right here.
That's right.
Why not? And it's up to us. So, you know, why isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think it has to do, it's because our minds have gotten so close, right? And so, in order, the first is that you've got to have an open mind, a willingness to have an open mind.